Okay, good morning, everyone. So today we will discuss adjectives. We will talk about the limiting adjectives, placement of adjectives, comparison of adjectives, and use of adjectives. Okay, so let's get started. An adjective is any word that modifies a noun or a pronoun. Descriptive adjective identify the quality of a noun or a pronoun. And limiting adjectives impose boundaries on the noun or a pronoun. So here, they are talking about the two, main adjectives, the descriptive and the limiting adjectives. From the word descriptive, you know that this adjective describes a noun or a pronoun. Limiting adjectives is taken from the word limit. So to put boundaries, to limit the adjectives, and we will see how the limiting is different from the descriptive. Look at these examples: hot surface or hot surface. Now, hot is an adjective and it describes the surface. Okay, so it's a descriptive adjective. Three phone lines. Here, it's three is an adjective, but it's a limiting adjective. Why it's limiting? Because we limited, or we limit, sorry, the phone to three, lines only. So that's like we have three phone lines. That's a limit. Okay, it doesn't describe, but it tells us about the number. Okay, and that's why it's called limiting adjectives. Limiting adjectives. Limiting adjectives include the following categories. We have articles like a, an, and the. We have demonstrative adjectives like this, that, these, those, of those. Possessive adjectives like my, yours, your, his, her, its, our, and their. And numeral adjectives like to and first. And we have indefinite adjectives. So all these, six or five types, describe the limiting adjectives. And we will explain this in detail here. Now, the first one is articles. A, and the are traditionally classified as adjectives because they modify a noun or nouns by either limiting them or making them more specific. See also articles and English as a second language. Let me explain this. When you say, I have a car, I have a car. How many cars do you have here? You have one car, right? So when you say I have a car, it means that you have one car. So you limit your adjective to one car. So that's why we call it a limiting adjective. When you say I have the car, also it's a limiting adjective because you talk about something specific. For example, you say, my friend has a red car. The car is beautiful. Now, the car, because you put the, and the makes it a limiting adjective because you limit your description to the car described before. Demonstrative adjectives. A demonstrative adjective, noun, adjective, points to the things that it modifies, specifying the object's position in space or time. This and these specify a closer position. That and those specify a more remote position. I think these things, I think you are familiar with this and that, those and these. Okay, this report is more current than that report. Now, the difference between this and that is that we use this for, something that is, closer, and like the position or the space and time is closer. Whereas that, we talk about something that is, further, okay? That's far away. Okay, and these sales figures are more recent than those report last week. So these and those again. But the difference is that this and that for singular and these and those for plural. Demonstrative adjectives often cause problems when they modify the noun, kind, type, and sort. Demonstrative adjectives used with those nouns should agree with them in number. This kind, these kinds, that type, those types. And here you see that when we put this, what follows has to agree in terms of number. For example, this is singular, then kind has to be singular. These is plural, then kinds have to be plural. That's why we have S in the end. Confusion often develops when the preposition of is added is added. For example, this kind of, or these kind of. Okay. And the object of the preposition does not conform in number to the demonstrative adjectives and its form and its noun. See also agreement and positions. Look at the example here. This kind of human resources or policy is standard, okay? And these kinds of human resources policies are standard. Here you have to understand that what is the subject of this sentence? The subject of this sentence is this kind, okay? And if this is the subject, then it is singular, right? This kind is singular. It's not the human resources. I know that human resources is plural, but that is not the subject. The subject of this sentence is this kind. So, and that's why we have the right verb is. But here we have these kinds, and that's why we have the verb is, or we use are here. Okay. So you should note that when this, these, those, that, when it is followed by of, the subject of the sentence is this and that and these and those, not what comes after of. Because here in both cases we have plural and here we have plural, okay? But here we use is and here we use are. So that you have to be very careful about this. Okay, avoid using demonstrative adjectives with words like kind, type, and sort, because doing so can easily lead to vagueness. Instead, be more specific. See also kind of, sort of. You just go to these pages and see what they are talking about. Okay, possessive adjectives. Possessive adjectives, because possessive adjectives, my, your, his, her, its, our, and they're directly modified nouns. They function as adjectives, even though they are pronoun forms. My idea, her plans, their projects. Now, when I say my idea, my is a possessive adjective. It's an adjective, but it tells us that there is a position of something, that you possess this idea, that this is your idea, her plan, their projects. Numeral adjectives has to do with numbers. Numeral adjectives identify quantity, degree, or place in a sequence. They always modify count nouns. And numeral adjectives are divided into subclasses, cardinal and ordinal. A cardinal adjective expresses an exact quantity: 1 pencil, 2 computers. An ordinal adjective expresses a degree or sequence: first quarter, second edition, etc. So what is going on here is the difference between cardinal and cardinal adjectives and ordinal adjectives. Now, the cardinal adjectives express an exact quantity. When you say 1 pencil, 2 computers, etc. So here we talk about how many pencils we have, or how many computers we have. We have 1 pencil and 2 computers. But ordinal, it does not talk about numbers. It talks about the position or the sequence. We have the first quarter. First here is not a number. It talks about the stage or the sequence or the degree. The second edition, okay, it talks about the position or the sequence or the degree, not the number. In most writing, an ordinal adjective should be spelled out if it is a single word, 10th, and written in figures if it is more than 1 word, 312. So simply, if it is more than 1 word, it has to be spelled, it has to be written as numbers. If it is 1 word, we have to write it as a word. Like here, the word 10th, we write it like this. But if we have more than 1 number, then we write the numbers, not the words, or to spell the words out. Indefinite adjectives. Indefinite adjectives do not designate anything specific about the noun they modify. Some CD rooms, all designers. Here, indefinite adjectives. When you say some CD rooms, you do not specify. And here, you are not defining or giving us a definite thing, okay? All designers, this is like, a generalizations. All designers. So these are called, some and all are called indefinite adjectives. The articles a and an are included among the indefinite adjectives. A chair, an application. When you say a chair, which chair are you talking about? I have a chair. Okay. Or I submitted an application. All right. Which application? So you're talking about something indefinite. Okay. But if you say I submitted the application and you add the, then this is a definite adjective. Okay. And then we have comparison of adjectives. Most adjectives in the positive form show the comparative form with the suffix er for 2 items and the superlative form with the suffix est for 3 or more items. So simply when you compare 2 things, you add er. If you compare to more than 2 things, then you add est. Look at this example. The first report is long, okay? This is a positive form. So we said that the comparison adjectives, we have 3 forms. We have the positive, we have the comparative, and we have the superlative. Now the positive is this. The first report is long, okay? Now you are not comparing the report with anything else. You just talk about the report itself, and this is called positive form. Why? Because there is no comparison between 2 things. The second sentence, the second report is longer. Okay, when you add er, longer from what? Longer, for example, from this first report. So you are comparing the first with the second. Okay, that's why you use longer. And the last sentence, the third report is longest. It means that this report is the longest one among three reports, because you have 3 reports and the third one is the longest, and that's why you add est. So if you're talking about 1 report, the first one, then you use long, and this is called positive. If you are talking about 2 reports, the first and the second, you use er, and this is comparative. And if you talk about 3 reports and you want to talk about the longest one, then you use superlative forms. Many 2-syllable adjectives and most 3-syllable are preceded by the word more or most to form the comparative or the superlative. The new media center is more expressive than the old one. It is the most impressive in the country. Now you ask yourself, why do we add here more impressive than? Simply because impressive is more than one syllable, because we have two syllables or more. If we have 2 syllables, then we have to add more and most if we have more than 2 syllables. Why do we add more? Because we are comparing 2 things. Why do we add most? Because we compare something among many things. Few adjectives have irregular forms of comparisons. For example, much, more, most, little, less, least. Some adjectives, round, unique, exact, accurate, often called absolute words, are not logically subjective to comparison. What does this mean? This means that you cannot say, for example, oh, John is more unique than Ahmed. Why? Because unique is an absolute adjective and cannot be, you cannot say that this is a unique and this is more unique or most unique. And the same thing with the word exact and accurate. So round, unique, exact, and accurate, they are absolute words which logically cannot be, subject to comparison. Do not add s or es to an adjective to make it plural. You don't say the long trip. You say the long trip or the long trips. Capitalize adjectives of origin: city, state, nation, continent. The Venetian canals, the Texas Longhorn steer, the French government. You see that like these because they are talking about places like cities, state, nations, and continent. And that's why, we capitalize these adjectives. In English, verbs of feeling, for example, bore, interest, surprise, have 2 adjectival forms: the present participle ing and the past participle ed. Use the present participle to describe what causes the feeling. Use the past participle to describe the person who experiences the feeling. Okay, we heard the surprising election. results. The election results caused the feeling. Only the losing candidate was surprised by the election results. The candidate experienced the feeling of surprise. Here, you know, these adjectives here, you should understand that when they have ing, they express feeling, okay? Or we call them, you know, these verb feelings, okay? So here, when we add ing here, you see, it causes us feeling. For example, we heard the surprising election. The election is surprising. Why it's surprising? Because it caused us to feel this thing, okay? And that's why we have ing. But in the second sentence, we add ed to the adjectives. Why it's ed? Because the feeling comes to us, that we experience it, okay? So only the losing candidate was surprised. Why surprised? Because he received or experienced the feeling. So the difference between causing the feeling and experiencing the feeling. Here, cause the feeling, we use ing. Experience the feeling, then we use ed. So an example, this class is interesting, or yes, this class is interesting, okay? Interesting because the class causes you to be interested. But you as a person, you say, I am interested in this class. Why we use ed? Because you experience that feeling. Adjective follows noun in English in only two cases. When the adjective functions as a subjective complement, that project is not finished. So here, some adjectives, because we know that adjectives come before noun, right? But in some cases, adjective can come after the noun, okay? When they function as a subjective complement, meaning that this is an adjective, but it's a complement. Complement for what? For the subject, that project. And when the adjective, phrase, or clause modifies a noun, the project that was suspended temporarily. So that was suspended temporarily, it modifies the project. So this phrase or clause modifies the project, and that's why it comes after the noun, not before the noun. And here it comes after the noun, not before the noun. In all cases, adjectives are placed before the noun. When they are multiple adjectives, it is often difficult to know the right order. The guidelines illustrated in the following examples would employ or apply in most circumstances, but there are exceptions. Normally, do not use a phrase with so many stacked modifiers. See also articles. The six extra large rectangular brown cardboard takeout containers. Here you see all these are adjectives, okay? And they modify the noun container. Now, if we have many adjectives before the noun, how do we arrange these adjectives? So according to this description, you know, you start with a determiner, whether it is the or a or whatever. That's the first one that comes. And then you go to the number. And then if you have a comment size, you start with this. And then you go to shape, and then color, and then material, and then qualifier, and then the noun. So these are like, you know, ways to arrange them. But this is not very important, okay? All right, so placement of adjectives. When limiting and descriptive adjectives appear together, the limiting adjectives precede the descriptive adjectives with articles usually in the first position. Now, the placement of adjectives. What if we have descriptive and limiting adjectives at the same time? Look at this here. The 10 yellow taxis, okay, were sold at auction, okay. Now the is an adjective, and it's a limiting adjective. 10 also is a limiting adjective. Yellow is a descriptive adjective. So whenever you have descriptive and limiting adjectives, the limiting adjectives come before the descriptive adjective. Within the sentence, adjectives may appear before the noun, they modify the attributive position, or after the noun, they modify the predictive position. the small jobs are given priority. This is an attributive adjective. The exposure is brief. This is productive. Okay, so okay, attributive adjectives, you know, the adjectives that come before the noun. And the predicative adjectives are the adjectives that come after the noun, okay? It's like, you know, the subject complement, if you remember, that we discussed before. All right. Use of adjectives. Nouns often function as adjectives to clarify the meaning of other nouns. Nouns often function as adjectives to clarify the meaning of other nouns. The accident report prompted a product design Give me a second because I have a problem with it. Okay. Yeah, the accident report prompted a product design. Now here, they say that nouns can function as adjectives. Look at the example here. Accident is an adjective, but it's a noun adjective. Why? Because we need this to clarify the meaning of other nouns. So the report, if you say the report prompted a product design, which report? You have to identify. And in order to identify this noun, you have to have another, you know, adjective or a noun. Now here we have a noun, which is the accident, and here it is an adjective. When adjectives modify the same noun can be reversed and still make sense when they can be separated by and, or they should be separated by comma. When adjectives modifying the same noun can be reversed and still make sense, or when they can be separated by and, or they should be separated by comma. The division seeks bright, energetic, creative designer. Here now, you see, like here we have commas, okay? Commas here. Commas are enough, you know, because you can shift here. Bright, energetic, creative. You can put creative at the beginning. It's energetic, bright, etc. Whatever, you know, order you want. In this case, you don't need to, you know, just put commas like this and that's it, okay? All right, notice that there is no comma after creative. Never use a comma between a final adjective and the noun that it modifies. So here, you cannot put a comma here before the creative. Why? Because never use a comma before an adjective and a noun. When an adjective modify a phrase, no comma is required. We need an updated web page design here. Here we don't need a comma because we have just one adjective, which is this, updated. Updated here describes the web page design. This is a noun phrase, okay? So because we have one adjective describing the whole noun phrase, we don't need a comma. Updates modifies the phrase web page design. Writers sometimes string together a series of nouns used as adjectives to form a unit modifier, thereby creating stack jam modifiers which confuse the readers. Okay, forget this. Okay, that's all for today, guys. I explained the adjectives and their importance, and hopefully this class will be very beneficial and helpful for you. Please, guys, work hard, and let me just take 5 minutes to talk about the test or the exam. Now, for the test, you know, the test will be from the book itself, the things that these studies. Everything is included in the midterm exam, including this class, the adjective class. And there will be questions about these stuff that we discussed, either in class or the recorded classes that I gave you. Now the questions, there will be questions as multiple choice questions. There will be no written questions. I will not ask you to write a letter or something, but I will ask you, I will give you multiple choice questions. So it will be like 30 questions, and every question, equals 1 mark, okay? And it will be on the LM system, the university, system. That's all for today. If you have any question, please ask me. Thank you very much and have a wonderful day. Bye.